everyone, to the Can Mayonnaise Kill the Jedi podcast. I am your co-host, Hannah.
And I am the main host, the Artificial Dragon. Welcome back, everybody. It has been once again a huge gap between episode. It's our 13th episode, right?
I have no clue. You're the one keeping track.
Well, even I can lose track, Hannah. Unfortunately, Kid won't be in today. He has personal issues, so don't worry about it. He'll come back in hopefully the next episode or two. But in the meantime, it'll just be me and Hannah, so looking forward to see how this dynamic goes.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
So yeah, a couple of new updates. We just got our new Patreon art piece with, the Togruta Damilami. She's got her nice little abs going on there and muscles and nice little spear there, very tribalistic. And you could go ahead and download her along with other Patreon art pieces that we've uploaded there in the past for merely $10 a month on patreon.com/canmayo. So that's the link that you'll find to donate to the podcast. It's just $10 a month, and if you're not into fan service art pieces, you could donate for as low as $3 a month. So yeah, just go on to patreon.com/canmayo, and we appreciate your support on the podcast.
And what other announcements do we have?
Also, we are currently, at the time of this recording, we're currently developing a Discord server exclusive for all Patreon supporters. So even if you donate the lowest amount on our Patreon, you will have automatic exclusivity to our Discord server, where you could talk to both me, Hannah, and Kit, and talk about Star Wars stuff, or just have a good time, give us episode recommendations,
Ask us questions.
Yeah, all the big shebang. So hopefully that will be up and about when this episode comes live on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms, but fingers crossed.
We shall see.
Yeah. So, Hannah, you want to know what today's episode is going to be about?
This is the good boys of the galaxy.
Oh, yes. We are, of course, ladies and gentlemen, talking about the Verpine. If for any of you that just got into this episode or have been living under a rock for the past year or so, that's the species that my character is on for the video format of his podcast anyway. I'm the insectoid teacher, just teaching the Togruta and that weird little Mon Calamari in the bag drawing the Sun Crusher. But yeah, we will be talking about the Verpine, and there is a lot of races in the Star Wars galaxy which are cool and are my favorite, but in my personal experience, I have a personal connection with a Verpine because I'm just that weird old kid who loves insects. I love arachnids, crustaceans, all the weird, creepy crawly stuff.
I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
You like the weird races. I like the Sith. Kit likes whatever the fuck he likes.
He likes the sexy races. Yes. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Verpine. Surprisingly enough, the Verpine, as I was doing research for the Verpine, they have a pretty good amount of lore to them compared to the Togruta, which have a page or two of lore on them.
Oh, look at the diatham.
Yeah.
They only have a paragraph.
Which is saying something, because the Verpine, unlike the Togruta, they have no presence in any of the movies whatsoever. On the other hand, we have Shaak Ti and Ahsoka Tano, who are very prominent canon characters, which, very ironic, but shenanigans.
Haven't the Verpine only appeared in books?
Yes, they've appeared in the books, some source books, comics. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Never on the big screen.
Never on the big screen. But you have seen some of their products here and there, but I'll get more into that. So, the Verpine, as I mentioned before, are an insectoid race that live in the Roche asteroid field. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's spelled Roche, Roche, I think. Roche, yeah. Oh yeah, also something to point out, I'm very excited to talk about the Verpine race because at this current moment, let me double check actually. Okay, cool. There is no YouTube video that exists that specifically talks about the Verpine, so I'm very excited to talk about it.
This is a first.
This is a first, so yeah. For all of you fans out there that want a simplified version video format of what the Verpine are all about, instead of going onto Wikipedia, this is the video format.
Awesome. We're making something stand out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's hilarious because I remember when we did the day before we did the Cad Bane episode, Meta Nerds did a live episode on Cad Bane, and I was just like, motherfucking Meta Nerds. But anyway, this is my revenge. Meta Nerds didn't get on the train before I did. They did upload a species episode on the Arcana, but they're not the Verpine, so who cares about them? So yeah, the Verpine live in the Roche asteroid belt, which is pretty self-explanatory. They live in a bunch of asteroids. You remember Polis Massa from episode 3?
No.
The asteroid where Padme gives birth to Luke and Leia?
Oh, I
Think
didn't
of
know
that.
it was an asteroid.
Yeah, it was in an asteroid. So yeah, they don't have a natural home world, so to speak, so they just live in these self-sustaining colonies within asteroids.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
You would think that they would have a home world, but then I guess they don't.
Yeah. So each of their colonies, so they have cities with the name of their worlds, so to speak, like their Slain, Corporal, Roche G42, Stantopole, and Nickel 1 is their capital.
Nickel 1?
Nickel 1. And in case you're wondering, no, it's unfortunately not a nickel floating in the middle of space. So it isn't exactly clear where the Verpine originated in the galaxy, as they're not naturally evolved in the asteroid because, they need oxygen to breathe.
This is a very, very obscure race.
Yeah, fairly obscure. But there are people in the Star Wars universe that theorize that maybe these asteroids are remnants of their home planet, kind of like Alderaan, so to speak, where they got blown into oblivion and they just colonized the asteroid or debris of their planet.
Possibly. That's a good theory.
Yeah. And others theorize that they may not be native to this galaxy, that they came from out there and just colonized the asteroids.
Like the Chiss.
Yeah, just like the Chiss. Others, if there is an answer the Verpine aren't telling, they just give a simple answer that they don't know where they came from.
They probably could be just an ancient race.
They could be, yeah. So an average Verpine is roughly at an average height of 6'2".
God damn, that's tall.
They are a very tall but scrawny race. Obviously I don't have any pictures right now, but if you look at them, they're very frail looking, despite them having a thick chitinous exoskeleton. And they have an average weight of roughly around 132 pounds each.
Damn.
Yeah. Though interestingly, unlike a majority of insectoid races, so let me ask you, and see if you could recall your elementary school knowledge. How many legs do insects have?
6 at the most.
Yes, and that is the interesting thing. The Verpine have 4 legs, 2 arms, and 2 legs. So it's kind of a interesting phenomenon. Yes, they are insectoid, but
they're also somewhat humanoid.
Yeah, somewhat humanoid.
But not by a lot.
No. They also have vestigial wings. Like how we have a tailbone that we don't really use anymore. They have wings that just chill out on their backs. But apparently some individual Verpine can use their wings to fly around, but I'll get to them later.
I'm thinking this is a good comparison would be almost like Devora, but less sentient almost.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah. Huh.
Or not less sentient, but less
human-like.
Human-like.
Yeah. I never thought about Devora, but fuck her anyway. Fuck her for killing the fucking scorpion. Anyway, we're not here about Mortal Kombat. We're here about Star Wars.
It was just a comparison.
Yeah. They also have 2 large compound eyes, very obviously, which allow them to see things at a microscopic level. Yeah. And they have hardened carapaces, which is composed of a green chitinous substance, which, kind of silly, I know, called carahide.
It's just a carapace.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they call it that. They just call it carapace, but whatever. And the carahide is as flexible as skin from any other race, but it's durable enough to deflect a small knife or something, or even a minor blaster bolt.
Oh, cool.
So they're fairly bulletproof.
They're somewhat durable.
Yeah. They also, and yes, you did this research earlier about their antennae. Yes, they do radio signals to each other via their antennae.
They're a hive mind, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a hive mind. Let me see if I could get to it. Okay. They have 2 antennae above each of their eye, which are sensitive to radio waves, given that the race are naturally sensitive and can transmit radio waves between each Verpine. So they're always in communication to each other, which also goes on to another point. They could actually communicate with each other within a radius of 62 miles.
Yeah.
So yeah, this silent and instantaneous communication is mistaken by a lot of races as telepathy, even though that is not the case.
Those who don't experience it can obviously see it as telepathy.
Yeah, that is fair. And each one of them, due to this, natural ability of communicating instantaneously, each of their governments are basically consensus democracies. Which is basically like every view is looked upon. They don't have any representatives within their government, as everybody can listen to everybody's input at any time.
That's very smart.
That is very smart. Obviously, this doesn't work in a galaxy spanning.
No, hell no, it doesn't.
But yeah, for local government, it's very useful. Like being able to communicate at the speed of light all of your views and policies and all that stuff. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And their thoughts on... Alright. So instead of singing, the Verpine actually rub their legs together to produce sound. Like
crickets.
Yeah, just like crickets, or cicada if you want to go there as well with your wings.
That's cool.
And...
So they're giant space crickets.
Yeah, they're essentially giant space crickets, except... well, most of them can't fly anyway. Neither can crickets. They can hop, though. Let's see. And Verpine can display affection for each other by, rubbing their mouth parts together, which is not so different to humans, but that's beside the point. So, an interesting thing, if the antennae are a very important part of a Verpine's everyday life, to the point where it has negative consequences if any of their antennae get damaged. Like, all criminal Verpine are noticed to have all their antennae damaged because they're literally being severed off of a hive mind.
That's gotta suck.
Yeah, it's all like, just imagine, you're an average everyday Verpine citizen, just, hello everybody, how's everybody's day doing today? Then somebody just cuts off one of your antennae for, I don't know, it's a prank, bro, and then you decide to go into crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very unfortunate, but yeah, what can you do? The Verpine as a race come in 2 different types. The first are the main Verpine, who are hermaphroditic and intelligent. So, much like the Hutts, they could choose to be either male or female.
Yep.
And the second type are the unintelligent worker drones, which do all the manual labor, just like...
And they aren't sentient.
No, they're not sentient.
They're sentient, but not intelligent.
Yeah, like classical insect colony hive mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like with bees, ants, and all that stuff.
Worker drones.
Originally, though, before they got into contact with the galaxy, the intelligent Verpine weren't that common. They were just kind of there in the higher class, while the workers are the most abundant. But when they became more and more involved with the galaxy, and they wanted, more of their, intelligence side, they decided, okay, we're going to produce more intelligent Verpine. So they kind of implanted special chromosomes into all their eggs so that all of them could become smart Verpine. Well, nice. The worker drones are basically clones.
I think I did see that in my research.
Yeah.
The worker drones are just made through cloning.
Yep. So yeah, but Verpine do have cloning technology, interestingly enough.
It's probably not expanded on how they developed it.
No, but it's there, which I think is pretty interesting. Each hatchling within a Verpine colony is cared for and looked after by the entire hive.
Takes a village.
It does take a village, or in this case, an entire asteroid. They do, interestingly enough, they are called a consensus democracy, but they do have a queen, which kind of is counterproductive. I don't know, but I don't know. Their minds don't work.
It's kind of like we have democracy with a president.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know. Whenever I think of queen, I just think of constitutional monarchies instead of democracies, but that's just me. For the audience, I also do a D&D campaign, and I kind of, got more into the Verpine government because they're having this alliance with Mandalore, blah, blah. I called them the Verpine Collective because I thought it was cooler. You want to know what they're actually called in universe?
What is it?
The Verpine government. I'm like, no way I'm using that. I'm calling it the Collective.
That sounds cooler.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm pretty sure it isn't literally called that, but that's what I came across with my research. But I wouldn't doubt it. The Verpine, being a very literal people, literally call their government the government.
Yeah.
But yeah, officially their government is a direct democratic technocracy with no form of monarchy mentioned, but they do have a queen for whatever reason.
Most likely, just like comparing it to real life, it's like how Britain was with the queen.
Yeah.
They have a parliament, but they also had a queen, but she was just a figurehead.
Yeah, I could see that being the same with the Verpine government.
Yeah.
Just with the queen as a figurehead.
It makes it easier to understand.
Yeah. Like I said, there is a lot of substance with the Verpine. It's just not dived into or verified that much.
As I've said before, damn you, Lucas!
Also, another interesting thing, in the asteroids, they eat fungus called Meginae, which grow inside the asteroids of each colony. So that's their main substance of food. Let's see. Also, their naming conventions are varied between individual Verpine. Like, some of them have single names such as Fizzes or Zizzes or Melgid.
Okay.
And then there are others that have a conventional first and last name. A good example would be Kelly Nedrex, Kelly Nedrix, or Uzos Nikilion. Though, I wouldn't doubt if a lot of Verpine give out conventional first and last name outside of Verpine space.
Probably. Yeah. Most likely.
Yeah. Given that Verpine have 3 fingers instead of usual 5 like you and I have, 3 fingers, they normally count in a base of 6 instead of 10. So the number 12 for the Verpine is like 4 fists.
Interesting.
Yeah. So not exactly useful information, but I think it's nice that they added that little detail in there.
Yeah. It's just a quirky little detail for a race.
Now, since I talked a little bit about their biology and all that and their government, let's talk a little bit about their culture. The Verpine as a people are pacifistic, which makes them a very good allies with Duchess Satine in this context.
That's why we made them there. That's why we allied with them.
Yeah. They would much rather compromise rather than go into conflict right off the bat. They see that as the last resort. And they are known galaxy-wide as the best engineers in the galaxy, specifically starship engineers.
Respected or not?
Huh?
Respected?
Yes, they are very respected.
Cool.
Let's see. Interestingly enough, they developed starfaring technology well before the Republic was founded. So they were like going around in the galaxy before even the Republic came into existence.
Wow.
Yeah. They even at one point created technology that allowed rapid fire turbo lasers to pierce through deflector shields, which is basically, for a brief moment in time, deflector shields on all ships was basically rendered useless.
That's pretty cool.
But that same technology also developed better shield generators. So, each their own.
Yep.
That's how good of engineers they are. Many of their technology and weapons are highly sought after by many governments and organizations across the galaxy, with items ranging from ion blasters or cordial regulators. Basically, it's a form of technology that monitors the heart, and if the vitals prove to be irregular, then it basically releases chemicals to stabilize it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very medical event. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Sorry.
Yeah, they develop all form of technology. I think they even developed personalized shield generators for people to wear.
Oh, so it's not just one specific thing. They create a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, they create a large menagerie of technology in the galaxy.
Nice.
Let's see. To the point where their technology was adopted and built upon by other races such as the Boffins, the spy dudes, and the Arcanians, who are basically the space elves of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. One of their more popular commodities are their shatter guns, which are basically normal-looking weapons. Like, it comes in different varieties, like everything from a pistol to something as big as a sniper rifle. Basically, they're miniaturized rail guns. You could just...
Damn!
Yeah, just... You could shatter anything with a single round, and it could be as big as a small pistol.
I know a character who would like that.
Oh yeah, the Mandalorians come with these weapons. They're like, oh yeah, this is the best fucking weapon ever. Which is why they are so incredibly rare and expensive as hell. And could only be found in Verpine space.
Oh damn.
Yeah, they could do massive damage. You could...
It's a good thing they're pacifists.
Yeah, they are pacifists despite having this
handheld
rail gun.
Imagine if they weren't. How fuck would the galaxy be?
Yeah. Which is why I call them the good boys of Star Wars. But yeah, it's even joked that if you run out of ammunition, you could just pick up a rock and use that as your ammunition. Because, any material going faster than the speed of sound will obliterate you no matter what.
Yep.
To give you an idea, the Shattergun sniper rifle costs between 15,000 to 30,000 credits.
Damn.
So yeah, it's very expensive. Though due to their technology being so cutting edge, there's kind of the interesting implication and / rumors that they tested these technologies on living subjects.
I wouldn't be surprised, but, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I wouldn't doubt it considering how alien the Verpine are, but at the same time, they are pacifists. Mm-hmm. And very altruistic, as we'll get into later. Let's see, where are they? In later years, their engineering would be further improved in their manufacturing of starfighter technology through their company, Slain Corporal, which produced the V-19 starfighter, which is, I'll have to show you a picture later, but it's basically the main starfighter used by the Galactic Republic in the beginning of the Clone Wars.
Nice.
So yeah, they have a nice little market going in with their military technology, and they also produced the B-Wing, which is a very popular Rebel Alliance bomber / heavy starfighter. Mm-hmm. Again, I'll show you pictures later, but it's commonly seen as the most difficult starfighter to pilot.
Oh.
Because you're like, to give you a perspective, you're kind of in a gyroscopic cockpit with the starfighter itself moving around the cockpit like this.
That's freaky.
Yeah, it is very freaky, which makes it so difficult to pilot. Let's see. So yeah, they developed the B-Wing using, at first, I'll go into their history later, but they become allies with the Rebel Alliance during the Galactic Civil War, and it was a funny enough, it was a collaboration between the Verpine and Mon Calamari Engineering that brought about the creation of the B-Wing. So yeah, they have close connections with major good guys in the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Which is ironic that they never appear in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, semantics.
Could easily be created in CGI.
Yeah, true. Though that being said, their technology is clearly cutting edge. They don't always land the mark given their lack of understanding of other cultures and social cues. Like, there is a quote of a Verpine saying to Boba Fett, "We are a very literal species."
Yes, they are.
Which is personified in this one story. So they have a droid manufacturer called Roche, but that's just its simplified version. Its full name is Roche Hive Mechanical Apparatus Design and Construction Activity for those who need the Hive's machines.
God damn.
Yes, it's a huge mouthful. And that's, their literal perspective on that company. But this story always makes me giggle. So they produce a lot of protocol droids, so there's this one droid called the J9 Worker Drone, which is basically a droid that doesn't exactly look like the Verpine, but think of like a stick figure, but with the head of an insect. That's basically what the J9 Worker Drone looks like. It's designed as a protocol droid. It knows nearly every single registered language in the galaxy.
Basically, it's a bug C-3PO.
Yeah, it's a bug C-3PO. Yeah. Yeah, it was programmed to speak over 1 million languages, making it more capable than your average protocol droid, actually.
Pretty cool.
And, being able to interact more easily with other organics. But here's the thing. Number one, it's very simplistic, and its bug-looking appearance makes it very unappealing for many mammalian races in the galaxy.
Yeah, it probably looks pretty freaky.
Yeah, as often as people like to criticize the uselessness of C-3PO, at least he looks appealing.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a bug.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he is going to scurry into your walls or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, number two, its name, the J9 Worker Drone, was very misleading. Like, when I say that name to you, do you think of a protocol droid?
No.
What do you think of?
You think of, I want to say maybe an astromech or something that actually does labor.
Yeah. So yeah, the naming of a droid is very misleading, but for the Verpine it's not, because, worker drones do everything aside from labor, they do communications. But for every other race, they use this top-of-the-line protocol droid that could speak 1 million languages, and they just put them in as labor units.
That's so stupid!
Yeah, I know. So yeah, very misleading.
And they're expensive as fuck!
Yeah, and third, it had a very flat personality, being very monotone with its voice, not very energetic or optimistic compared to C-3PO or other protocol units.
And C-3PO ain't that energetic either.
Yeah, just to give
a worrywart.
Yeah, just to give you an example, this is an actual quote from a J9 worker drone, activating and doing its greeting. Greetings, Master. How may drone BGRV2 serve as the colony, hive, or social collective?
God damn, that's so boring.
Yeah. Well, the J9 did find popularity with other insectoid races. Its failure was obvious. And it was a commercial failure, and it was not very well received, and also didn't help the fact that the Verpine didn't exactly have the best marketing for the droid either.
Probably not.
So, but despite that, they improved on their technology, and they actually came back with a better protocol droid that looked more human. Still have a bug head, but it still looked more human.
It still had the bug head, but more human. That's still fucking freaky.
Yeah. However, they kind of tried their hand with other models of droids, aside from protocol droids, they also did labor units. I think there's this one droid called the Smolter droid, which looks more human-like. But you remember the Munes?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It has a very elongated head and everything. Their version of a human. It was a lot more.
Freaky.
Yeah, it's a lot more positively received because, it's just a labor droid. Nobody's going to care about it.
Yeah.
So that's a better success compared to the J9. They also did dabble in battle droids, but I'll get into that later. I kind of see a trend where it's like they try anything civilian related, it ends in disaster, but everything military, they hit home.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, ew, bug protocol droid, make it a labor unit. And meanwhile, the Mandalorian's like, oh yes, a shatter gun, give me 20 of those. So anyway, let me get into their history. Verpine, and so it's not exactly known when they joined the galactic community, but assumingly it's somewhere in the early days of a republic. They actually become very close allies with the Wookiees when they started becoming part of the galactic community. We'll get more into it when we do an episode on the Wookiees, but their first impressions on the galaxy weren't the greatest. Basically, there's this company called, basically, Ancient Trade Federation-like company came to their planet and enslaved them all.
Oh.
So yeah, not a very great first impression.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, after, they fucked off, the Verpine actually made a couple of trade agreements with the Wookiees, trading technology, and it was the Verpine that kind of convinced the Wookiees, hey, maybe the galaxy and the galactic community isn't so bad. We'll join this republic. So yeah, you can thank the Verpine for having Chewbacca in the movies. The lore lies anyway. I'm not sure about out of the universe. Oh, one can dream. Let's see. During the Galactic Civil War, they were openly sympathetic towards the Rebel Alliance, but obviously couldn't officially join because, there's this big, scary empire watching over them.
And they're pacifists.
Yeah, they're pacifists. Though unofficially, several of their asteroids did join the Rebel Alliance to the point where they sheltered some of their best engineers and helped develop a couple of starfighters for use by the Rebel.
At least a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a couple of hives were like, hey, we want to join you and actually become some of your foot soldiers and pilots and all that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So they're really good boys of the galaxy. And after the fall of the Empire, they actually entered in close relationships with the New Republic military. Yeah. So they're kind of on the same level as the Mon Calamari and... Is there any other race? Nah, whatever. Yeah, on the same level as...
makes up a good amount of the Republic military.
Yeah, a lot of their star cruisers, the Mon Calamari star cruisers make up a huge bulk of a Republic military, the New Republic military anyway.
Aside from humans.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Further into the New Republic's history, the Verpine would have several hiccups in the galaxy, such as the case with the Barbell race. The Barbell are also kind of interesting. They're kind of a hive mind reptilian race. Think of naked mole rats, but they're a bunch of reptiles. Ew. Yeah. Not naked, just that they have a hive mind. But interestingly enough, the Barbell actually worship the Jedi, despite being absolute savages.
Okay, how the fuck does that work?
That's an episode for another time. Anyway, so they kind of have this agreement with the Barbell where they trade them some of their own home-produced ships, but they got stolen by some renegade Verpine queen, and the Verpine were like, no, nothing we could do about that. Sorry, dude. And the Barbell were so angered by this, they basically did a secret deal with another race called the Kubas. They're basically a bunch of anteater people.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, you love eating insects. We want to eat insects. Could you smuggle us some dissected Verpine body parts in our cuisine?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, then the Verpine found a Barabab ship, and in its kitchen were frozen remains of a Verpine that they were going to use for their cuisine.
Oh, no.
And obviously this sparked a huge hatred towards the Barabil, and they were actually declaring to go to war with him, but what was her name? Mom Muffma herself, who was the head of state of the New Republic at the time, had to mediate everything. So poor Verpine just doing their thing, but a bunch of lizards just want to eat them.
That sucks.
Yeah. Now, onto the more interesting part of their history. During this time, they also, that's right. For a brief moment in history, some of the Verpine colonists became addicted to this substance called black memesria. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Is that a type of spice?
It's I can't remember what it is exactly, but it's
drugs.
Yeah, point is it's drugs. And it was actually a substance made by our good old buddies from Alderaan called the Killiks.
Ah.
So you remember how the Killiks basically abduct races and make them part of their hive mind?
Yep.
That's basically Yeah. That's basically what the Killiks were planning to do with the Verpine, just kind of, hey, you want some drugs, kid? Here you go. Become one of our hive mind. Here you go. Come on.
God damn.
So there was this brief moment in the history of the galaxy called the Swarm War, which basically is a conflict between the Killiks and the New Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a topic for another episode. But point is, a lot of insectoid races were being subjugated by the Killiks to their side, and the Verpine were one of them. But fortunately, Luke Skywalker, Mara Jade, and Jacen Solo prevented that from happening.
Nice.
Jacen Solo is the Legends version of Kylo Ren, by the way.
Ah.
Yeah. And then during the Second Galactic Civil War, for context, Jacen Solo turns to the dark side, and he becomes the leader of the New Republic, all that stuff, and he decides to declare war on his uncle, Luke Skywalker.
Because why the fuck not?
Yeah, that's its whole other episode, but yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. During the Second Galactic Civil War, the Verpine actually signed a non-aggression pact with our good old buddies, the Mandalorians.
The Verpine were like, we're not going to do anything, please don't hurt us!
Yeah, and the Mandalorians were actually fairly close to a Verpine space. It's like, not literally a rock's throw away, but essentially that, from a galaxy-wide perspective. And they were kind of worried about the Mandalorians. By the way, at this time, Boba Fett becomes the Mandalore.
Oh.
And he's kind of militarizing the Mandalorians more. And the Verpine were like, we don't want to get invaded. Be our buddies. And protect us from outside threats so we don't get fucked and everything.
What did Boba say?
He said, sure.
Nice.
And the simple agreement was, the treaty was basically the Verpine would supply defensive technology and quality control, while the Mandalorians would protect the Verpine from invaders.
Nice.
So pretty good win-win.
That's kind of what we did with...
Yeah, exactly.
The Mandalore Treaty and the D&D campaign.
Yeah. And their relationship was pretty good to the point where they actually made a Beskar starfighter.
What?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Oh, yeah, they did. Well, okay, it was the Mandalorians that invented it first. The Verpine basically improved on it, made it lighter so that the Beskar doesn't, weigh down the ships.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. There's this quote I remember reading somewhere where a Mandalorian mercenary was all like, oh yay, a Mandalorian and Verpine Beskar laden starfighter. Somebody at Coruscant isn't sleeping well tonight. And yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's awesome. And the treaty between both races would be put to the test when Imperial forces allied with Jacen Solo decided to invade the Verpines. And true to their word, the Mandalorians came to their aid and fought them off.
Nice.
Yeah. Though recent attacks... So I'm kind of fast-forwarding a bit. This is roughly around 130 years after the Battle of Yavin.
Damn.
Yeah. So Luke Skywalker would be gone by this point, by the way.
He's long gone.
He's long gone, and his descendants are around. And at this time, there was like there was kind of a so the Empire had its own emperor. He was very charismatic. He's not power hungry like Palpatine was, but he kind of got usurped by a Sith Lord named Darth Krayt.
Huh.
And now there's like a civil war between both of these galactic empires. One between Darth Krayt and the one with his Empire fella. Mm-hmm. And through this civil war, the New Republic is no longer a thing. They're kind of going back to being the Rebel Alliance.
Huh.
So yeah. Circle continues.
Yep.
But anyway, the Verpine are kind of on their own and occupied by Imperial forces. So, and around this time, they developed a new series of battle droid called the IX-6 Heavy Combat Droid, which obviously very insectoid looking. Mm-hmm. They utilize this droid as security across their hives because, you know, they don't want to get invaded by the Imperials and depend on the Mandalorians for all of that.
Yeah.
The Empire was all like, wait, that's illegal. We can't let you build droids. Independent nations defending their own borders? That's offensive. So basically the Empire came down and destroyed a couple of their asteroids and basically told them, hey, you stop selling these droids now, otherwise we're going to destroy the rest of your asteroids. And for any other race, they would have complied. They would have been like, okay, we give up, we'll let you subjugate us, obviously you're more powerful than us, we'll just lay down our arms and just let you call the shots.
I'm guessing the Verpine said, fuck you.
Yeah, the Verpine said fuck you and continued manufacturing more of their droids, of course in secret, and gave them off to more interested parties. And I would suspect they would send them off to the the
Neo-Rebel Alliance.
The Neo-Rebel Alliance at this point. So, yeah, they're doing pretty good, even in the future of the galaxy.
It's weird talking about the future of the galaxy because it's all just Legends content because it hasn't been introduced in canon yet.
No. There's actually... Funny that you mentioned that. It's actually called the Legends era of Star Wars. No, not Legends. Legacy era of Star Wars. My bad. It's a very fun little era of the galaxy. Like, obviously, Luke Skywalker is no longer around.
The time of the Jedi is probably like...
Well, actually, the Jedi are still around, but they went through a second Order 66 by the Empire.
Of fucking course!
But obviously, they're still around helping the Neo-Rebel Alliance. And I think the descendant of Luke Skywalker at that time is this guy named Cade Skywalker. And
so the Skywalkers lived on for over a good amount. Like...
Oh, yeah. Cade Skywalker's father, Cole Skywalker, is actually the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, too. So
just like Luke, and just like Anakin wanted to be.
Yep. I think R2 is still around there by then.
No fucking way.
Yeah. He's like over 130 years old at this point. Good old R2, yay. Which
imagine the archives of Skywalkers.
Yeah. Which is also pretty cool because there's this theory that I remember, I think it was either George Lucas or someone else. Basically, the entirety of the Star Wars trilogies are from R2's perspective.
I can see that.
Yeah. So it's kind of that idea that R2 is just retelling the story of his experiences with Anakin, Luke Skywalker, so on and so forth to whoever is looking at them.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. But, yeah, aside from that, that's the history of the Verpine, their culture and their biology. Now, I will briefly cover some of their members, kind of There we go. They do have a couple of influential members. Yes, they do have members of a Jedi Order as well.
Oh, they are Force sensitive.
They can be Force sensitive, yes. There's this particular Verpine Jedi named Bygar Sadat, who actually served during the Clone Wars as a Jedi General.
Oh.
And he was one of the few survivors of Order 66.
Wow. And not a lot of people survive that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's this comic where it covered... So, there's this old comic book series back in the day by Dark Horse Comics called Dark Times, which basically, follows the tale of the Jedi that survived Order 66 and all that. And he, appears in a single panel, but he becomes a relevant character later on. It's all like, some Jedi survived by luck, others by pure skill, and Sadat did that by pure skill. Like, if you look at this picture of him, you could see him on top of a shit ton of clone troopers that he murdered.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. But unfortunately, he's not a main character. He gets captured by the Empire regardless.
Does he die?
No. This is actually kind of interesting. So, this event, Sadat, along with 5 other Jedi that were captured by the Empire, were brought before the Emperor himself. And Palpatine handed them their lightsabers and was like, I'm giving you a choice. I want you to kill each other, and one that comes out on top gets to live. Here you go. And obviously, being Jedi, they don't want to murder each other, and they figured, there's 6 of us, and there's 1 of him, why don't we kill him?
That's a death wish.
Yeah. And Palpatine kind of anticipated this, and he was chuckling in the background. And
of course he fucking did.
And 4 Jedi jumped at him, and with a single swing of his lightsaber, he cut down all 4 of those Jedi.
Of course he did.
And only 2 were left. Sadat and a female Jedi. And Sadat was all like, shit, this guy could kill us any time he wants to. Either A, I commit suicide, or B, I go to his side and, live on, probably as a dark Jedi, but at least I'll be alive. He chose option number 2, and he murdered his fellow Jedi in front of Palpatine.
Ah.
And he proclaimed his loyalty to Palpatine.
So he turned dark Jedi.
Yeah. And I like to think of him as one of the first Inquisitors of the Empire. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that one of the first servants of the Emperor is Verpine, which are pacifists. But anyway,
well, I mean, every race has a person that stands out.
Yeah. And his story actually continues. By the way, he's one of a Verpine that actually uses his wings. This is what he looks like.
Oh, they look cool.
Yeah. Which is weird because they're vestigial wings, but I guess he's using Force shenanigans. I don't know. Anyway, so he kind of is tasked with looking after Jedi that survived Order 66. He becomes a sort of side character with his crew that is associated with a Jedi. They find the Jedi, and they eventually found out that how did you survive Order 66? Your story is not lining up, and they eventually found out that he turned traitor. And at the end, he got murdered by Darth Vader, who was not happy that Palpatine recruited other Jedi to his side.
Of course, Anakin being fucking jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, Sadat was all like, Lord Vader, I'm also a servant of Palpatine. Could you please free me of these restraints? I could tell you where the other Jedi are. And Vader was all like, wait, you also work for Palpatine? Yeah. Die!
God damn.
So yeah, he didn't get to live for too long, but he's an interesting character.
Yeah, anyone else?
Let's see. There's a Verpine priest, who appears in one of the old Star Wars comics back in the day. He doesn't look like a Verpine at all.
No, he doesn't.
No, he becomes friends with Chewbacca and Han Solo at one point, and it's kind of interesting. Like, what is religion to a Verpine? Because obviously we have a priest of the race, but how do they view religion, and what is their God, so to speak? All of those are kind of left unanswered.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lucas.
But let me see. any other members, there's Migot, who is he's a member of a Rebel Alliance. He's just a little computer nerd. He was actually involved. So there's a point in time where the Empire basically framed the Boffins, who are close allies of the Republic, that, hey, they caused the extinction of this one race over here. And this guy was basically a slicer for the Republic and did some, digging to see if that was true or not. So, yeah, a lot of these Verpines filled a lot of tech roles and starfighter roles.
Nice.
But that's all I have in regards to the Verpine.
That was a decent episode.
Yeah. Okay, not as long as the Togruta episode, but yeah.
Well, there's not a lot of information on the Verpine compared to the Togruta.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm very happy to cover a little bit of a Verpine race. One of my personal favorite species in the entirety of the Star Wars universe. Like, the Verpine are basically that friend that is dependable and will help you in a tight spot, but they're not very good at social situations.
That happens.
Yeah. You know that meme where that guy is at a party and he's just in a corner with a cub and he's all like, they don't know that I'm so-and-so. For the Verpine, they're all like, they don't know, but I'm actually one of the best starfighter pilots in the galaxy.
Yep.
But yeah, I just have a nice little personal connection with a Verpine. I just wish that, Disney is exploring them a little bit, like that section where the Verpine produce sound by rubbing their limbs together. That was actually an insert from Sabine Wren, who is actually a huge fan of the Verpine music that they produce.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So apparently they have like operas and everything where they just rub their limbs together.
It probably sounds like, like violins or something.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine like a couple of Verpine and some other races, with their own instruments, if a Verpine don't have
like
any
an
instruments?
Alien orchestra.
Yeah, and they don't have any instruments at all and they're just like
rubbing their arms together.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
I would pay money to see Verpine just rubbing their limbs together.
Why can I see Thrawn listening to something like that?
Oh, Thrawn would be down for that.
And Palpatine because, elegant fuck.
Oh, that reminds me. Remember that scene where Palpatine's all like, you remember the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Yes, in the Opera House.
That particular event, that particular show was actually performed by Mon Calamari.
I remember seeing that in the background. It's like you could see water.
Yeah.
So it had to be some aquatic race.
Yeah. So you can see the connections between the Verpine and the Mon Calamari already.
Yeah.
Which is why we are so important in this podcast. Well, it's Gruda also, but whatever. But anyway, you have any more questions about the Verpine?
Not really.
All right. So, this is a little bit shorter episode than usual. Probably the shortest episode ever, actually.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a race that hasn't been expanded upon.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting that they have more cultural and government depth than the Togruta are.
Yeah. But the Togruta are just like
tribalistic, yeah. It's
tribalistic, but it's also they're just more widely, quote unquote, widely spread throughout the galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah, they contribute through the Jedi Order, not necessarily their culture or anything like that. Well, the Verpine contribute purely through their culture.
It's just, the Togruta are more involved in the galaxy as a whole.
Yeah.
Whether it be, the artistic ones or the tribal ones.
Yeah, that is true. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for listening to this Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. Or in this case, how awesome can the Verpine be? But anyway, you want to know what our next episode is going to be about?
What's the next episode?
So, we covered two of our most favorite villains in all of Star Wars, Vitiate, Thrawn, Cad Bane. But now that it's my turn, you want to guess what our next character episode is going to be about?
If it's sticking with villains, I'm thinking maybe... Boba Fett?
I will probably save Boba Fett for our later episodes if we get enough Patreons. But you're kind of on the right path. For the next episode, we will be talking about one of the most angry beings in all of Star Wars, General Grievous.
Oh, shit!
Yeah.
One of the most angry beings. I would say Maul is a pretty angry being.
No, Grievous is a pretty angry boy, as we'll get into later.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me on that. But I'm looking forward to talking about Grievous. Second favorite, right next to Cad Bane.
Well, of course.
Yeah. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's kind of short and sweet, but that's the point of this podcast, regardless of the subject. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And, yeah, do you have any closing statements?
Be kind to each other.
May the Force be with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.